Record. Well, good afternoon, members of District 64. The reason we're here today is so that we can learn all about the changes that Toastmasters put on the website in regards to clubs and their ability to pay TI directly, what that means for club officers in their Club Central, and what that trickle-down effect means to your members. So yes, I'm Dave Storey, and I have worked on this extensively. I actually have one club that's using it and one club that is not using it. So before I actually get to the website, I want to discuss with you some of the reasons why clubs may or may not want to use it. And irrespective of the fact of whether you are a workplace-based club or a community club or advanced club or whatever type of a club you may be, there are considerations that you as an executive may want to take before turning it on. And allow me to give you a few examples. I know that there are several workplace-based clubs where their HR pays for their member first. And then there are others where the member needs to pay and then submit a receipt and get reimbursed. One of those could work for self-pay, the other one cannot. When you come to community clubs, are you paying additional fees above and beyond just the TI fee to be a member every 6 months? Are you paying rent? Right, so now you're asking your treasurer to have multiple different things that they need to take out of the members as far as fee, as opposed to just collecting one. So again, think very hard on what you do as a club and if this will work for you. I chose to turn this on in Selkirk because the only thing we collect is the $45 US, really. Right, so I'm trialing it. I wanted to see how it works so that I can explain it to the district, with Michael being gone for the last month. So let us go ahead, and I want to show you right from the beginning. So here we are on your Toastmasters website. The only ones that can turn on the pay feature for a club are officers. And you find that in Club Central. So you go to Club Central and it's under Club Contact and Meeting Information. You scroll down to the bottom, and this is where you can enable and disable self-pay. Does that make sense to everybody? It's pretty simple. It's there. And of course, when you enable or disable it, you have to click save, otherwise it won't take. It's the same as doing a change to any of your information about your club. You have to click that. Once you have done that, then your members will be allowed to pay. Your members will see this. It's time to renew your membership. Renew. They click on that. And then it'll go to the clubs that those members are part of. And it will tell you right there whether your self-pay is up or not, or whether mine says renewal period unavailable. Why? Because I have already paid in both clubs for the current renewal period. If I hadn't paid for one of the clubs, I'd see something different on there, because you could see it's active until the 30th of September. Unfortunately, on the pull down, when you go to pay, it says 1 period and then the 2 periods are paid out. So as per the discussion this morning that we were having at the district meeting, where a lot of ideas were coming up about paying for a whole year, the club will have to manage that, because TI won't let you do that at this point. I hope that in the future they will, because the option is there. It's just grayed out. Does that make sense to everybody? So the club has to manage the fact that the members paid for a year, and then when your next renewal period comes, you just pay for the member and you don't ask for it. All right, so I'm glad that we're on the same page. So that is basically how your member goes in to pay once it's enabled. And it's very simple, 2 clicks, right? And I'll show you again. Once you've enabled it, it's here. They can click it. Even if it's not enabled, it'll show that it's not enabled. You click renew. It's on everybody's homepage. It'll take you to the spot where you can pay. And then they just click on whatever club it is. It'll take them to the part where they can enter their credit card. And they do that, and they'll get a receipt from Toastmasters International saying they paid. So now let's look at the changes that they've actually made in Club Central. So you as a club officer want to know how many of your members have paid and who's left to pay. Well, they've removed some things and amalgamated some things here in Club Central. If you see, the roster is gone. And the add new member or add members is gone. It doesn't exist in Club Central on this page as it sits right now. You have to click on membership management under the club that you want to choose, right? Membership management. And I'm going to go there. Hammett, do you have your hand up for a reason? No? Okay, yeah, go ahead and unmute yourself. I still can't hear you. Oh, okay, he's connecting the audio. Go ahead, Hammett. Did he just disconnect totally?
No, he's...
Because I can only see a few people off to the side because I'm sharing my screen.
He's there and he's waiting.
still there.
And
Correct, David. A club officer is the only one who can turn that feature on or off, because those are the only ones who have access to Club Central for your club. So yes, you are absolutely correct. So if we go into membership management, everybody sees this green banner. Self-pay is now enabled for your club. So I'm in Selkirk, it's enabled, right? And as a club officer, I can change that setting by going there at any time. But what they've done now is they've listed your members in a tiled formation. So every member has its own little tile of who they are. Right. I can click on a member and I can go edit profile. So for those of you that were wondering about their addresses and informations, the same as we had in the roster, this is how you get to it, because it's all there. Does that make sense to everybody? You can also change the view from this view to something you're more familiar with, which is this, by clicking that button up top, either a list view or a tiled view. And then you can edit the profile and everything else. So now let's say, okay, let me preface this. I want to go back and I want to show you something. You see how under each member it says self-pay is enabled? Except for Bob. I've disabled Bob's ability to self-pay because number one, Bob is with Inclusion Selkirk. He does not have a credit card. I want to protect Bob's account. I can disable self-pay for any member in my club that has a particular situation. So even though the club as a whole has self-pay enabled, I can disable it for particular members. That's just one way of additional security or whatever the case may be. Bob always just brings me cash and I pay on his behalf with my credit card.
Is there a button specific to Bob's name that you would click to disable him?
Yes.
Okay.
So when I go into Bob's account, right, I can disable the self-pay right here for Bob. Does that make sense?
Perfect. Thank you.
Enable it for him. So it's enabled for the club, but it's disabled for the member. I would like to see them put like the member self-pay here, whether it's enabled or disabled, just so that there's clarification. But I was able to figure it out and it works quite well. So here you are, a club officer, and you want to check who's paid, who isn't paid. You can see here that on the tiles, it says paid until, paid until. So you can quickly go through and you can see who has paid, who has not paid. You can do the same in that list because it's paid until, and that may be a quicker way for you to do it, right? Because this is the more traditional view that we're all used to from years and years of looking at our rosters. But now you have a new member and you want to sign them up. Well, a new member can't self-pay yet because they're not in the system. Just go to add a member and do the exact same things that we've been doing for years when you add a member into there. What I do with a member is they bring me their form, their Form 800 saying that they're a member, they've signed it and everything else. I can log in as an officer right there at the meeting. I can click on this, I can add their information as a member, and then when it comes to the payment, I let them sit down and put their credit card information in for them to pay it. And that way they're paid and a member that night. And then from then forward, once they're a member, they can self-pay at renewal time. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, it's pretty simple. And that pretty much is everything. Now, if you happen to be paying for all of your club members by e-transfer and you have a club account or whatever, when you add a member in, it's going to show up under the membership cart with a 1. You can add any member in that you want to pay for and then click on membership cart and it will take you to another screen where you can pay with your corporate credit card or whatever the case may be that you're paying for all of those members. I know Selkirk prior to this was doing e-transfers. They would e-transfer to me the money, I'd put it on my credit card, and when I was ready to pay, I'd go and I would add each member I was going to pay for into here. Add to cart, add to cart, add to cart beside their number. And then once I'm ready to pay for all of them, I click on that and I can go in and I can pay for all of them. That option is still available, obviously, to you. And I think a lot of clubs are going to prefer to remain using that option. But that essentially is what you as club officers can do in Club Central, how you enable your self-pay, disable your self-pay, and how you can protect members that if you are enabled as a club, you can't, that they're not going to be able to have their account played with or fooled with by disabling them individually. So are there any questions? And just open up your mic and go ahead because I can't see everybody on the screen. Go ahead, Stephen.
So I just want to make sure that if there's a member of more than that has more than one club,
Yeah.
if you're not their home club, you still can see them, right?
I can still see them, but when they log in and they're paying on their own, is that what you're saying, Stephen?
Yeah, well, like, so if you're the treasurer or something and you want to go, or the president, and you want to go see who has paid and who
Yeah.
hasn't, you'll have access to that information, even though you're not their home club. And
No,
they've
well,
assigned
you'll
it
have
to
access to
another-
information if they're in your roster,
Okay,
period. If they're in another club and they're not on your roster, you're not going to see that.
no, but if they belong to more than one club.
Right? So
Yeah.
are you an officer in both clubs?
Hmm? No.
If you're an officer in only one of the clubs where they exist, you're only going to see the information for the club where you exist with them.
Okay.
Okay, the same as before. That hasn't changed. What they see as a member, and I'm going to go back here and I click renew. This is the difference. Here's what they see, because they have the option of paying for whatever club they want. So I'm now as a member going to pay for myself. I clicked on that renew and I've paid for both. So there is no renewal period available for me to pay for right now. I'm paid up. Club officers will not see that. The club officer will only see the information for their member within their own roster. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other questions? I can't see anybody. Is there somebody indicating a question?
David, it's Sharon. I was pondering the idea for my club to go self-pay. But one of the things that crossed my mind that you touched on was the fact that, maybe clubs have other fees that they have to consider. So I can see that being sort of a logistics nightmare for everybody.
Yeah.
For the treasurer, really, just to, yeah, you pay over there, but you owe us still money over here. So, that's why I might not enable it for my club.
And that's exactly it, Sharon. You have to, as an executive, decide how that's going to work for your club. And I know with talking with several members of the district on Facebook and in meetings, that they said that point exactly. We don't want to have to collect two separate types of dues every renewal period. We want to just do like we've been doing and collecting, the extra $20 on top of I need $85 for you for this period, right? Type of a thing. And then the treasurer can pay the portion to TI and then put the rest in the club's account or whatever the case may be. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. But that's what you guys as club officers need to decide before enabling it. Or even if your circumstances change and you go from a place that's a free club to now where you're having to pay rent, you can turn it off. Right? You can disable that for your club as club officers. So you have lots of options when it comes to that. Does that answer your question, Sharon? Good. Are there any other questions? Well, then Hamid?
Yeah. Did you hear me or no?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Reason is our corporate club, right? So how we going to manage, because it's getting issue for us right now. That's why we also had some problem with the membership right now. So suppose we decide, like in the future, HR is going to involve to pay everyone. So how we going to do that one? Then again,
Right.
issue will come with the new member, and again that the conflict may occur.
Right. And that I alluded to at the beginning of the meeting, Hamid. I mean, whether you're a corporate club or whether you are a community club, there are considerations. As I said, some workplace-based clubs, pay the membership for the members. Others, the members have to pay it first and then submit a receipt to TI or to their HR, and they get reimbursed. So however your club sponsors, if it's got that set up for you as a corporate club, will determine whether or not you want to turn this on or off. So if you guys are paying If HR is paying it directly for you, you may not want it on,
Okay.
right? If your members are paying first and then submitting a receipt to the corporation and getting reimbursed, you may want it on if that's the only fee you're paying.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
So take those options back to your club and talk to HR about it and whoever you have to deal with, just so everybody's in the understanding that we're looking at a little bit of change. This is what we want to do as a club to make it easier for you, or however you want to do that. Right?
Okay. And another questions, when like suppose I pay my fees, then my club officers will know that I paid the dues, and
Yes.
even the division 64 will know that I paid the dues or no.
As a member of the district, I can't go into everybody's club central. I can only go into my club centrals that I'm a member of. I don't think in reports I can pull out who's paid and who's not paid. So no, to answer that, go ahead, David. Do you have something you want to add to that?
Yeah, you're just only going to be able to see the total sort of like the renewals, like so an overall number, like you can't see individual. That's my understanding.
Okay.
You want to know where I get to see who's doing what, Hemet? I'll show you. And it's what I look at every morning. I get to go here. And I get to see that in April so far, 216 members have paid their dues, and we've got a total of 218 new members for the year. That's the closest that I can come.
Okay.
I can't tell who
Well,
really, right? Because even if I go into reports of your members list and everything, until the 31st, everybody's paid up of March. Do you understand where I'm going with that?
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
but just a general comment, don't be confused by membership payments and members,
Correct. It's two different things.
right? They're different. So typically membership payments will be higher than the number of members you actually have, because depending on when they make their payment, it can count as a double payment,
Yes.
which increases that membership payments over the actual number that you have.
And that's getting into more of what the
Yeah, I
trio
know.
works
Yeah.
with and everything else. But
Yeah.
as a club officer,
Yeah.
you guys can see all of your members. We can only see the total amount paid to date.
Can I jump in?
You can, sir.
I popped up the district membership list because we have access to that as district officers. So division directors, you actually have access to your division membership lists. Area directors have access to your area membership lists. But one of the columns on that massive spreadsheet, and it's column M, so it's way deep in just before the name, there's actually a column that says paid stats. So I'm just checking the one I drew off the other day when I was getting ready to do
Okay.
my reports, and they all say yes.
Now,
But I know
remember,
that,
yeah,
hang on, but I know that in the past, when just after the renewal period, when I've drawn the list off, I can see who's paid, and then I also have a list of not paid. I don't know how long they stay on that list before they're purged, but right after renewal, so if you go on April the 1st and 2nd, whatever, you should be able to see who has paid and who hasn't paid. But it's just the list of the district, the division, and the area, depending on what your access level is.
correct.
It's really
That's
the only way
absolutely
of
right.
finding out. Yeah.
Yeah. So not until the renewal period closes can we see the difference of who's left remaining in the district to pay.
Exactly. So it's not the greatest system for management, I'll be honest. However, it's better than nothing. And it does give area directors and division directors a good indication of what the renewal health looks like in their various areas and divisions. And because it's a spreadsheet, you can manipulate it to have the paid and unpaid separated out, so you can actually have the physical counts, and it's easier to find. Just thought I'd throw that in.
Great. Are there any other questions? No, haven't seen none. Thank you for coming today. Please share this information with your fellow officers in your clubs. Take this back so that you can make the appropriate decisions on whether or not self-pay works for your club, and then go from there. This is a real simple system. I mean, I've had our members from Selkirk are paying in, and the contact list, right, gets that. So June will get it as the president and everything else. And so we know when people have paid and when they have not paid. And if you're not on that list for that contact email ID that's in your, right, about your club, the same place as where your base camp and stuff gets sent out to, right? We get to see. And if not, it's just a quick go in and have a look as an officer, because it tells you right there on their tiles or their list who's paid and who's not paid. And you can do your follow-ups. Go ahead, Sylvia.
Oh, yeah, just one other question. When you add a new member, a brand new member,
Yes.
what comes up? Does a self-pay thing come up for that person, or do we still need to take care of that person? To
When
get
you're adding a brand new member and you have their 800 form, I go in as an officer, and I'll bring that up for you again. Just give me a second. I'll walk you through again, Sylvia. Just let me.
Yeah, no, I could see where it said add the member.
Right. So you want to click on that.
How does the payment work with add the member?
Well, it'll automatically do the declining fee depending on where they are and everything else for you, right? It'll add that. You just say they're joining on this day.
Okay,
Figure out how much it is. But when it comes to the actual payment part, once you've entered in, you know, the member address and all of that and the dates that they want to join, a screen comes up to pay by credit card. I let the member sit down and do that. They put their credit card in.
okay, so you take that number off of the form and put it in.
Well, I figured when you're putting in that member automatically online, it figures it out right there on the spot for you, Sylvia, what that number is.
Okay, but that it's not going to be self-pay right away. It's going to go through
No.
whoever is entering the person, the name.
Right. So you enter the member in first and get them paid. And then come the next renewal period, they will be able to self-pay.
Okay, that's the part I wasn't sure about, that initial period, who handles that, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so
It works really slick both ways, because like I say, I've done it 3 times in the last 2 weeks for Selkirk members and had them sit down, and it's just boom, boom, boom. They show up in your roster right away with a membership number.
Okay, but my question still was, who's actually paying? You're saying you have to take their credit card number off their application form. Unless they're right next.
Okay, so I guess it depends on how you're hosting your meeting and doing it, right? My meetings are full hybrids. I get the opportunity to sit down live with the member. I enter their stuff and they sit down on my computer and put their credit card number in as I'm logged in as an officer.
Yes, yes, yes.
That works really good for us. If you're a hybrid club, the first thing, then somebody.
Yeah, I did that once with an international person.
Right.
So quite well.
You have to either get them to send you the money first or somehow, and then you pay on their behalf initially.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, depending on, again, how your club is set up. Sharon, does that help now, Sylvia?
Yes, now I've got it.
Sharon.
So just an opinion here, you said both your clubs are hybrid, so
Yeah.
I presume there's a Zoom fee. Does both clubs eat those costs, or do you share that within your members?
Both my clubs share in the cost of my Zoom. They each pay half. Right?
Okay.
Depending, some years I pay for it all. That's an executive decision that year on how much they're willing to help out with the Zoom cost. Because I use that Zoom for multiple clubs, right?
Okay. Thanks.
Question, David. In one of my clubs, it is reimbursed to the member who has the Zoom. Yeah. That's a decision that the club makes. That's not directly linked to self-pay, but that's something else together that you'd have to do as an executive. Are there any other self-pay or Club Central questions? No? Well then, hey, thanks for coming. Please share this with your people. It was great seeing you. Have a wonderful weekend. Don't hurt yourselves shoveling snow later.
Thank you,
To
David.
this, David, greatly appreciated.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, David.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, David.
Bye.
See you.